The movie begins with a man named Hyun, who is on his way home after becoming the youngest MMA world champion. On the way, he gets great news from his mother. His little sister is finally coming home after being away for a long time. When he arrives, the house is dark and strangely quiet. Thinking everyone is asleep, he walks to the refrigerator, but as he opens it, he notices his hand is covered in blood. Shocked, he looks around and finds his mother and sister dying. Suddenly, a man attacks him from behind with a rope. Hyun fights back and knocks him down. Two more men rush at him with knives, but he defeats them as well. Overcome with rage and grief after seeing his family die, Hyun beats the attackers mercilessly until they are dead. A few years later, the news spreads everywhere. The youngest MMA champion is sentenced to prison. Meanwhile, at a school, we meet Woo, a quiet, brilliant student preparing for his future. One day, a new transfer student arrives, Seok, a talented boxer. Everyone welcomes him at first, but during break time, Seok violently beats the top student and quickly becomes the most feared person in school. Soon, he recognizes Woo as someone he used to bully in junior high. Seok starts bullying Woo again, even more brutally than before. His girlfriend disapproves of his behavior, so Seok turns his anger toward her too. Woo begs him to stop, but the bullying only gets worse. Finally, Woo reaches his breaking point. He grabs a sharp pen and stabs Seok in the eyes until they bleed. The story then moves to the courtroom, where Woo is found guilty and sentenced to prison. In prison, Woo tries to survive and eventually finds a friend. He joins a peaceful, timid group of inmates who just want to avoid trouble. However, he is warned about three dangerous men he must stay away from: a huge, powerful gang leader, a quick and ruthless short gangster, and Hyun, the former MMA champion. One day, prisoners are playing football and need two extra players. Woo and his friend are forced to join. Woo stands frozen during the game and gets yelled at by the others. When he finally tries to kick the ball, he accidentally kicks the wrong person instead. The big gang leader becomes furious and drags Woo away to punish him. On the way, they pass Hyun. Seeing him as his only hope, Woo begs for help. At first, Hyun looks indifferent, but then he feels pity and steps in to talk to the gang. The leader refuses to listen and suddenly throws a punch at Woo. Woo dodges it and, surprisingly, knocks the big man down with a single slap. Woo escapes that day, but he knows the gang will not forget what happened. That same day, Woo gets a visitor in prison. It's Seok. He coldly tells Woo that he'll be waiting for the day Woo gets released so he can kill him. Terrified, Woo breaks down in tears and begs for forgiveness, but Seok ignores him and walks away. From that moment on, Woo lives in constant fear. One day, Woo sees Hyun training and gathers the courage to ask him to teach him how to fight. Hyun ignores him and continues exercising. The next day, Woo asks again and gets ignored again. Finally, annoyed, Hyun tells him to forget about revenge if his goal is to kill his enemies. But Woo replies honestly, he doesn't want revenge. He just wants to live a normal life where no one hurts him. Hearing this, Hyun feels pity and changes his mind. He tells Woo to come back the next day for his first training session, but it won't be easy. Hyun says he'll only accept Woo as his student if Woo can beat him in a race of 100 laps. Woo loses badly. Still, he refuses to give up. Even when his body can't handle it anymore, he keeps running. Exhausted, he imagines Seok and the big prisoner chasing him, pushing himself harder until he finally collapses. The next day, Hyun meets the prison warden, who offers him special treatment for being a well-behaved prisoner. Hyun accepts, but asks for something in return. Soon after, Woo is moved into Hyun's room so he can focus on training. Before Woo even has time to thank him, Hyun orders him to start doing push-ups. Woo can't even do a single pull-up, so the training begins from the basics: push-ups, pull-ups, punching, kicking, and eating more to gain strength. Weeks pass, and Woo starts making real progress, so much that he even exceeds Hyun's expectations. But Woo doesn't slow down. He keeps training constantly, even while reading books. One day, his friend congratulates him, but also brings bad news. Hyun is being transferred to another prison. While Woo continues training, he can't stop thinking about the news that Hyun will be leaving. Seeing this, Hyun asks him how long he plans to keep hiding behind him. Those words motivate Woo to become stronger. Soon after, Woo sees his friend being dragged away and bullied by the big man's gang. This time, Woo steps in bravely and fights back, he manages to defend himself well, forcing them to back off. The next day, the big man calls Wu to meet him. Wu apologizes for what happened the day before, but the apology only leads to more bullying. The big man punches him, but Wu instinctively dodges and counterattacks. A fight breaks out. Even with his training, Wu is still weaker and gets hit hard. He manages to land several punches, but they barely affect the big man. Eventually, Wu gets knocked down. Still, he refuses to give up. Driven by determination, he gets back up and uses the last of his strength to headbutt the big man repeatedly until he finally knocks him down. Wu keeps punching him in anger, but Hyun arrives just in time to stop him. Meanwhile, in the city, Seok gets into a fight with some gangsters. Using his boxing skills, he defeats them by himself. A gang leader notices his talent and offers him a place in the gang and professional training. Seok accepts and soon becomes a gang member working as a bouncer. Back in prison, Wu has grown much stronger. His training has now advanced to sparring sessions with Hyun. Even though Wu still loses most of the time, one day he finally manages to defeat his teacher. Hyun is proud of him and reveals that it's his last day in this prison. Their farewell is emotional, and Wu struggles to move on after Hyun leaves. Not long after, the nimble short gang leader takes advantage of Hyun's absence and challenges Wu to a fight. At first, Wu refuses, but the man makes an offer. If Wu wins, he will follow everything Wu says and stop bullying others forever. Wu accepts the deal and the fight is set. The day of the big fight finally arrives and everyone is waiting for Wu, but he doesn't show up right away. Instead, he gets a visit from Seok, who threatens him again. Seok reveals that he's now part of a gang and says he'll be waiting for the day Wu gets released so he can kill him. After the visit, Wu heads to the fight. Without wasting any time, the match begins. The nimble short man fights with a fast, flashy style similar to a martial arts video game character. Using his speed, he lands kick after kick, barely giving Wu a chance to respond. Wu switches to the MMA style Hyun taught him, and it starts to work. Still, the short man adapts and fights back just as hard. Both of them end up badly injured. In the end, Wu manages to lock him in a tight hold, and the fight ends when the prison officers arrive. Wu is declared the winner. True to their promise, the gang leaders stop bullying others. Over time, they even become friends and start hanging out together. Eventually, the day comes for Wu to be released. Before leaving, he visits the training field where he once trained with Hyun. As he walks away, he finds Seok waiting for him. Without a word, they head to a nearby field to settle things once and for all. The fight begins immediately. Seok, now stronger from his time as a gangster and athlete, knocks Wu down again and again, but Wu refuses to give up. Each time he falls, he gets back up. At his lowest point, Wu remembers Hyun's teachings. Using what he learned, he delivers a powerful punch to Seok's eyes, throwing him off balance and knocking him down for good. Wu finally wins. At the end of the movie, Wu visits Hyun in prison. Hyun is proud of the man Wu has become. The two talk about sharks, creatures that never stop moving and never stop fighting. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this. Thank you for watching.